Hello and welcome to Doable Personal Evangelism, the 7x7 journey from relationships to revival. My name is Hugh Plappert, and today we welcome you to our presentation. You know what? I am drawing a blank. So hang out as I change views here. We'll take two. Here I can go to notes page. Hate this. I don't want to read. All right, so here we go. Welcome to the 7x7 journey from relationships to revival, doable personal evangelism, and we'll take this again. What's my illustration? Misunderstood you. Okay. Hey, welcome to the doable personal evangelism, the 7x7 journey from relationships to revival. Have you ever asked your child to do a chore and found out later on you were disappointed that they didn't do it? Either they misunderstood what you wanted done and they did it the wrong way, or they totally ignored you thinking you weren't saying, hey, it was urgent. Hey, helping your church and encourage them with personal evangelism can be similar to that. So the question is, would it help with your child if you stood with them, stood beside them, and showed them the way and give them pointers on ways to do it better? And if we did that in our churches with personal evangelism, would the results in the fruit of our efforts be better? So let's see what we can do today in this 7x7 journey from relationships to revival. That's not what I wanted. Here we go. All right, the 7x7 journey is basically a postcard. And on either side of the postcard, one side will be a place for 7 names and the other side 7 steps. So let's look at these 7 names. This is something that you would share during a consecration or commitment service, preferably in the earlier part of the year. You know, on the backside, you'll find a place where folks can pray and ask God for direction and put down 7 names of people that they want to work with in this coming year and help draw them closer to God. So on the backside, there'll be 7 suggestions to help them come up with these 7 names. The suggestions you'll see include family member, a neighbor, coworker, friend, your kids' classmates' family, a service provider, or a family from one of your classmates when you were in school. This will help you kind of generate ideas of 7 people that you can reach. So during the consecration service, we're asking the saints to write down, first pray, and then write down these 7 names. There's also a place in there for them to write down their name so we know whose card this is. Flip the postcard on the other side, and we have suggestions for 7 steps. These 7 steps are suggestions for building a stronger and a better relationship. This is not a run and rush revival. This is building relationships over time, strengthening those relationships, ministering even in those relationships before engaging the person in the end result, either being a fellowship group, small group, Bible study, or inviting them to church. So the 7 steps, real quick, is to ask God about the 7 souls lay on your heart, to pray for them. Then you want to learn about a common family interest. You want to learn how you can assist and work with them. Then you want to see if there's a way that you can assist and help them meet a need. You want to celebrate a special day with them, spend the time with them. You want to learn about their family history, their values, where they came from. And then at last, there'll be room for you to share your testimony of what God has done in your life. And then ask them to engage in the final event at the end of the period. So the one side is the 7 names, the other side of the card, the 7 steps, thus the name of the program, the 7x7 program. So the key to success in this program is to coach, to help your saints along the way, to be involved and interact with them. That sounds like a rather large commitment, but we think we have some ideas here that are doable even for the bivocational pastor. So if your church takes public prayer requests and you're praying for the sick and the people that need jobs that week, ask your saints during that prayer time to raise their 7x7 card above their head, okay? And then pray for those 7 along with the regular prayer request. This is kind of a spiritual peer pressure for those who don't have their card or haven't had a chance to fill out a card. They'll kind of ask what's going on and want to be involved, and we'll catch up with the rest of the group. Okay, so at the commitment service, when the saints are writing down their 7 friends they're going to reach out to and they fill out their name, I'll walk around with their cell phone and get a picture of each card or run them on a copy machine somehow so the pastor has a file of all these commitments. And then, depending on the size of your church, there's a couple of different strategies here. For a smaller church, a pastor, you may call 2 or 3 saints 2 or 3 days a week. Set aside some time where you call them and you talk to them about the 7 folks on their card, okay? And they say they try to call Bobby and he didn't return the call and they're discouraged about calling him. Well, you can coach them maybe on how to leave a proper voicemail or how to stop by for a visit, whatever the situation is. Be sensitive to the dynamics of the personalities and stuff, but coach them in a way to not abandon doing their 7x7. And so about once every 2 to 3 months, you cycle through all the names and you call them again and coach them again throughout the year without a lot of commitment, just a little of consistency, making a huge difference. Now, if your church is medium or larger, this particular responsibility can be divided up. So if you have small groups, have the small group leader call on the people in his group and coach them 2 or 3 at a time, 2 or 3 days a week. Just be consistent and keep on coaching them throughout the year. You can divide your church in 2, depending again on the size and the leaders that you have, and divide that work up. Another coaching technique is to practice salvation testimonies. So in this situation, find out from your saints, from them, how they came into the church or how their family came into the church initially. And some amazing testimonies and usually some miraculous stories about how that happened. And call on them 2 or 3 at a time during the service to come up front and share their salvation testimony. Now, what you're doing is you want to put confidence or concepts, ideas in people's heads, saying, okay, if a neighbor baked a pie for their family and as a result their family came into church 20 years ago, I can bake a pie today for my friend, okay? So by hearing how their peers came into the truth and how that was miraculous and how they connected will actually encourage the people with their 7x7. I can do that for my 7x7, okay? So you're given these ideas and these concepts and can-do attitudes with what we call practicing salvation testimonies. So the next one is to share progress testimonies. Progress testimonies is that. It's progress. It's not that one of their 7x7s came in and got saved. It's, I took my 7x7 friend out to dinner. We had a great time. We hadn't seen each other in a couple of years, and it was a blast. That's a progress testimony. So pick up people that are making progress and how they're doing it and how they were successful along the way and building those relationships, and testify about how those relationships came together, again, to encourage and to show others that they can do it or how they can do it. All right, in the 7x7 program, everybody in the church should be involved. Everybody, okay? So if you have an elderly person who can't get out and about, partner them with a family where that elderly person can pray, maybe they can make a dish and have the elderly person come over for dinner when they have their friend come over for dinner. If you have a special needs person, again, they can pray. You can have them for dinner. Include them somehow. So everybody is doing something, and nobody is saved. Salvation doesn't come because one person witnessed to one person. Salvation comes because a body of Christ reaches out to a person and brings them in. So I believe everybody can work together. You can have some mentors and some coaches that work with other people who may be socially challenged or whatever, but you should be able to pair them up in such a way for success. So don't just randomly pair them up with somebody who can handle that type of situation and include them. Everybody can be involved. So coaching takes this program to a whole new level. If you try to do it without coaching, it can be beneficial and you'll see some results. You're going to see tenfold the results with the coaching. So make sure to include coaching in the program. So later in the year, if this is a year-long program, and it probably should be, about 6 to 9 months, you want to start having low-threshold events. These are events, we call them 7x7 events, where they should be getting through the 7 steps of the relationship, and now you're going to bring them into a low-threshold service. That's not a compromise. That is just saying, okay, we want to give the people comfort and confidence. This is not a cult. We're not out to get them. We want them to see what the family of God is like and kind of dip their toes in the water, all right? And the pastor gets to know these people and connect with them, et cetera, and so forth. Some of the stuff you can do is a family and friends day, a concert, a festival or praise in the park, a drama or a program like a Christmas program, an outing, which you can bring people along for the outing. If like the young marrieds are going out for an outing, and some of the people that they're connecting with are young marrieds, bring them along for the outing, but let everybody know this is an evangelism outing, and there will be people there that are new, and to make them feel welcome. Of course, a small group cookout event, or offering to do a home Bible study in a person's home instead of dragging them to church is another kind of less low threshold event that you can reach them with. So that's the overall 7x7 program. What we're going to look at next is if we do this program, but we don't find a way to bridge or to connect to disciple making, we're going to be wasting a lot of energy. And so we need to understand that this needs to dovetail into a disciple-making program for a continuous relationship, all right? So this is at its finest. Now, some people think of disciple-making as after a person comes into the church and is saved, and then you disciple them. You actually can start disciple-making before they ever know there's a church. Just by being their friend and being there to pray for them, to answer their questions, to check on them. This is the seed planting, the root making of disciple making. So, we're going to go through some program, and you want your friend to come to church after the end of the program. But this is just the beginning. Keep it up. Keep it going. This is good practice. Continue with it. And when you put those 7 names down and you start praying for them, you actually are starting to be a disciple maker with them. All right. Cool thing about disciple making, there's no back door. The person can't leave the disciple making relationship. It's not like they're a member of the church and then they're not a member of church, or they were attending church and they stopped attending church. Disciple making is week after week, the relationship, friendship, growing, patience, waiting, praying, investing, and it never ends. So there is no back door to disciple making. So 7x7 is the start of disciple making, and the program should continue forever. Okay, it should never end. Even if the person doesn't come to church, continue the relationship, continue to pray for them, and declare that you have a disciple making relationship with them, and don't give up on it. Okay. Now, people are hurt, and when you approach them and try to make a friendship and they think you're trying to sell them on church and stuff like that, if they're hurt, they are going to cut you off. They're going to jump back, okay? So your goal is to build trust with the hurting. So take it slow on the relationship. Do not rush it, okay? So if you don't get through your 7 steps in a year, and it takes longer than a year, that's perfectly fine. Maintain the relationship. That's the key. When they are going to attend an event or church, make sure you're there before them, or go pick them up and bring them with you. Don't let them arrive there without you being there. This will help make it safer and more comfortable for them. If you go to church and you're used to, after church, going out for lunch or dinner and hanging out with your friends, when you bring your friend from the 7x7 program to church, cancel all dinner appointments, okay, or meeting with friends. You and your 7x7 person go out to dinner by yourselves with nobody else. Pay them your undivided attention, okay? Strengthen that relationship. Get their questions answered about the service. Were they comfortable? Did they understand everything? Those type of things. And you do it with them one-on-one. Do not take out a group. Now, if you brought in 2 or 3 of your 7x7s happen to be at the same service, you can take those 2 or 3 out with you to dinner. But it's to talk about their comfort level and their questions getting answered, and welcome them back, or don't welcome them back if you find out it's not working too good, but maintain the relationship even if they don't come back. But that's a real critical time for connecting after service. When your 7x7 friend comes with you with a problem, do not try to fix the problem. Listen, and then listen. Tell them to pray, etc. and so forth. If you can, give them a reference to a job or something like that, yes, but don't try to fix it. Don't push the fix on them. They really need you as a support person more than a fixing person. Okay? So we're talking about these people have hurts, and if you're not sensitive to these hurts and you cross that line, you can really break up the relationship, and you want to maintain that relationship. So always think about, if the other person's hurting, what's the safest way to say it, the safest way to connect with them, the safest thing to ask from them, and how would you want somebody to approach you if you were had hurt feelings, okay? It's about breaking through the hurt feelings with trust in your relationship. Okay, so let's focus now on churches of challenges of sizes, and is the 7x7 program for them. So if you are a church plant, you don't have a congregation to do the 7x7 program with. Think of it this way. As you bring in a convert and you're working one-on-one with that convert, and you get to the point when you want to talk with them about how they can evangelize, how they can share the gospel with others, you can use a version of the 7x7 program. Print out the postcard, have them fill out the 7 names, talk about the 7 steps, talk about the being careful with the hurting relationship, talk about these being a lifetime commitment, certify them as a disciple maker, and encourage them to go towards those 7. So you're kind of putting training wheels on them for evangelizing, and use it one-on-one. And so if every convert came in, brought in 7 more converts, those 7 converts brought in 7 more converts, etc. and so forth, as a church plant, it will turn around a revival. Eventually, when you get big enough crowd, you can make it more of a corporate effort. For the smaller bivocational church, and not having time maybe to coach and call all the time like you would want to, what you can do is on your Bible study night, have a round robin table set up, and have people go around the table, share their progress and their challenges, and guide the conversation for coaching, even though coaching may come from others, suggestions come from others. But as everybody's encouraging everybody's sharing their progress, you can get the progress testimonies in there. You can get the coaching in there. You can even direct the conversation to say, well, how did you come into the church, and get the salvation testimonies in there, and a round robin situation around the table. Or if you're in a pew church setting, just go around the pews and have this round robin conversation in your smaller church, or if you're bivocational. So now kind of either probably introduction to your Bible study, or maybe right after your Bible study doing this round robin. It saves you from having to follow up on those phone calls and going through everybody's testimonies and all that. Just package it in one. Now, you could do this like every week, or you may do it once a month, the round robin, depending on how your culture and situation works. So that could work for you. If you are a church department and you feel burdened that this is something your department can do, that is possible. We did have a youth group do this and reach out to 100 young people. There were 13 young people in the youth group, and they did the 7x7 program for reaching out to 100 young people. Just make sure you get your pastor's permission, and you can bring about a revival in your specific ministry. Ladies ministries, men's ministries, youth, Sunday school can incorporate this program into their department. And that can also be a church-wide strategy that we're going to do this by department instead of by a whole church. So there are some options there for everybody to work on the program. Now, next we're going to talk about building your team. The power here in churchgrowthinabox.com is how you can take a program, these instructional videos, the downloadable tools, delegate it out to a team. Everybody carries their load of work, and you can see great revival without burdening one person, specifically the pastor. And so here are some suggestions for building your team. There's the Build Your Team button above when you're looking at a kit, and you can use that button. Now, to use this Build Your Team feature, you have to be in the upgrade version. And if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you are in the upgrade version. Know that when you invite your members and who want to build your team, you can choose to sponsor them, and that means that you're going to pay for their $1.99 a month for their copy of the Church Growth in a Box program, or you can ask them to pick up the tab themselves. So be aware of that when you're building your team. You're asking them to make a small investment for a big cause. Now, in our Build a Team program here, there's a worksheet in our toolbox that has all this information as well as the slides. We have recommendations for different kinds of churches and how you can build your team. Building your team doesn't mean the person has to be a leader or member of your church. Okay? When you need postcards printed, you can go to a commercial printer, right? You can use a graphic artist from a local trade school. So not everybody on the team needs to be in your church. It'd be nice if they were. Also, another thing about building your team is you're asking people to work on a specific project and a specific role. You're not putting them in charge of anything. Okay, they're not in charge of a department. Unless you ask them, they're not in charge of the project. You're asking them to contribute in their area, this one-time role. So this is a great training tool for people who may be ready to step up to be a team member, to volunteer for the first time, et cetera and so forth. They're going to get training from this instruction video that you're watching now. They're going to get tools that are ready to use to work with instructions on how to use those tools. Everything's going to be ready for them. So they don't have to guess. They don't have to, sit around. So number one, they're going to be trained. Number two, they're going to work in a framework. They're going to follow the framework that we present in this video in tools. So they're not out there just coming up with anything on their own. And everybody's going to be on the same page. Everybody's going to have the same training, know about the same tools. You can communicate quicker and move forward, and hopefully saving you 2 or 3 months when you build your team. So we're looking here at the church plant. Again, we're going outside for a lot of help here, either looking to a neighboring church or to a community school to help with the media and graphics portion. For the smaller church, it's somewhat similar, a little different. You may have an usher who can help. You could bring somebody up as a potential leader and put them in charge of this project for a smaller church and try to give them some leadership area. And then we have the department. The key point here is make sure the pastor's brought in and on board as part of the team and knows what's going on. And then, especially in the youth and in your various teams, find somebody who leans towards graphics or towards the media. Now, if they're not fully skilled, that's okay, because we've got pre-made graphics and media for you in the toolkit, and they just need to go in and tune that up a little bit. So that will help if somebody doesn't have much experience, but you can use that in your church department. If you're got a big church team, and quite a few people working with you, a half a dozen people on your team. You can have an executive pastor, outreach director, the pastoral staff. You can have a media person, the graphic person, bring in your head usher and how you can use the ushering team, and bring in mentors to fill the gaps for those special need people. So you can have the whole spectrum. But you can see here, churches of any size can use 7x7, and you can at least start building a team or engage your existing team on the program. In the tools, we do have the card available in a couple different formats, and if you need to tweak it and you don't have much graphic tools, you can actually use PowerPoint, and you can look on YouTube. There's all kinds of ways of how to save PowerPoint as a picture or how to save PowerPoint as a PNG that will give you the instructions on how to, once you've edited this in PowerPoint, how to output the graphic, and it's all over YouTube on how to do that. So you can change the church name, change some verbiage, call the program something else besides 7x7 if you want to. And that's available for you. We have a guide, PDF guide that will go through a lot of these instructions that we've gone through. We have a project planning spreadsheet that you can go through and assign tasks out and check on progress. This is a media graphic for the commitment surface. And at the bottom, you can fill in the church's name and dates for this commitment surface and use this graphic to advertise that. Another version of that, let's commit to our community. And then the step-by-step, day-by-day, friend-by-friend commitment service graphic, another version that you can use here. And then when you're calling on names and various dates, we have a sample model of a spreadsheet that you can use for tracking who you called when and notes about those calls. This is a promotional graphic to promote after the commitment service to remind people to follow up on their 7x7s. Make a difference today. Remember to pray. Serve someone special today. Some really cool graphics that are ready for you to use. The team membership thing that we mentioned before, bringing teams on to this particular project. We have a PDF document, and what's cool about this PDF document, it will actually have recommended requests, and you can click on those, and that will put that request into the Build Your Team form. You just need to edit it for like the pastor's name or teacher's name or student's name. Sometimes we ask for your phone number. Just edit the form and send it to the person, and you're ready to go. So this will help you build your team a little faster by using this sheet here with the sample request messages on it. You just click on the message, and it will go to the Build Your Team button. You first, though, before you use this sheet, you need to be logged in to churchgrowthinthebox.com. We got a check sheet of all the tools in our toolkit, how to use them, and that covers that for the 7x7 program. We're glad that you joined us today, and we hope that you find the program useful. You find it a great way to get your team engaged and built, and that these tools will help you bring revival to your church.